and welcome to the best coverage of Uconn sports around. We are not fake. We have the best team assembled possible. The voice of the Huskies himself, the best of the best, the icon, Joe D'Ambrosio. And then the next greatest influencer, the man with a YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers, the coach himself, David Schuman, and I, Steve Cully, am the best podcast host in the universe.
But not in Joe D's top 20.
And this is Husky Hoops. No, not G's.
I think Shu, he's in the top 15 now.
Oh, yes.
I got moved up. I got moved up by default. Just that's very important. That's very important that I got moved up by default. I'll take it any way I can get it. So I am proud to be in the top 15. I still don't agree that Billy Irwin should be ranked ahead of me. I was much more entertaining than Billy Irwin, for the record.
Goes into entertainment, effectiveness on the playing field.
Effective. All right, if it's effectiveness on the playing field, then yes, you have merit there. There is plenty of merit there. Effectiveness on the playing field. I was a glorified cone, so I will accept that.
That's a great line. There you go.
I was a glorified cone.
I was a glorified cone.
Like that.
Yes,
you were more than that, Cully. You know that.
I tell people that people say you played against Miami, played Division I. I said, you know what? I could get in the way occasionally. That's about it. I could get in the way, and that I appreciate that. We did the best we could.
And your number was only one number away from being a skill guy, 79. So
yeah,
but if you think tight ends have skill.
Compared to the number of times I fell on the ground, every other play, no. But I'm just really distracted that you shaved your beard. I love the beard, you know. And
me?
Yeah.
I had the dinner last night. You're
it's right. The Hall of Famer, yeah. Joe. Dave was inducted into the Palisades Hall of Fame.
Palisades Park. Yeah.
Oh, he knew. He knew.
As a coach, yeah.
Yes.
That was actually pretty cool.
That's
legendary
awesome.
Coach. Yes.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't there that long, but we did a lot of really good things, and it was cool. Some of my players actually, which shocked me, some of them actually came to the dinner. So I got to see those guys. I hadn't seen some of them in a long time. That was good.
That's the great thing about coaching. It's rewarding. Oh, yeah. You influence people's lives. You make a difference.
That's great.
And you made it. And you're not even a coach, and you've made a difference in my life. So I think that's even more.
You in life.
You are. You're basically my life coach. Yes, you're basically my life coach, my business coach. You're basically everything.
I'm an unpaid life coach for you.
So, Joe, I figured we'd start with the good news.
Yes.
Gino comes out, breaks the record. I thought it was very it was fun to watch.
Yep.
It was great to see all the girls that came back. They had 75 girls. Shit, I did it again. The women who came back.
Steve, let me explain this to you. You realize there are women out there who are much older than you.
Yes, I do realize that.
Right.
I just, and it's funny because I just said
that gets the description women started.
That's okay. That's right. And I just had my podcast with Maria Conlon show, so that's even worse. I was on a podcast with a woman. Yeah, the women that showed up to support Gino was incredible. Yes. And I loved the press conference afterwards where they all wore the CD wigs. Yeah, that was awesome.
The whole night was beautiful. From start to finish. I thought they did a great production. I thought they had the right players, former players speak after the game in the right order. I thought Gino was great. Bringing the GOAT out, despite what the ASPCA said, was terrific. It was a great night. It was a great night for a great man and a great coach. So and a great assistant coach. because it was as much about CD as
It really was. Did you, Joe? I didn't know this. Did she? I'm sure she has, but did she ever consider leaving to take a head coaching job somewhere else? Was that ever in the cards?
I don't know firsthand, Steve, but because it never came up when I was around the program, but I don't think so.
Yeah, Maria said she didn't think so either.
Because here's why: she gets paid a terrific salary.
Mm-hmm.
Her and Gino are like
Peanut butter and jelly.
Peas in a pod, right? I was looking for that peanut butter and jelly. Why go somewhere else?
Yeah,
and
why
go somewhere else? There's no shame in being the best assistant coach in women's basketball history, and she clearly is. She clearly is. I mean,
and Maria said, like, I didn't know how involved she was. Maria said that she was an intricate part of that coaching staff and does a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people don't know about. It's not just on the court. She does so much off the court for them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, Maria knows a lot better than I do, but that's always the impression I had. So good for them. And now they'll play tonight in the Bahamas against a pretty good Ole Miss team to try to win that championship.
Yes. And I felt better, like, watching Sarah Strong. I was just blown away by her shooting. Like, I didn't know she had the range that she had. Like, she could bomb threes. She has a great inside game. She rebounds. I mean, I know she's a true freshman. I know she was the top recruit in the country, or the number one player in the country, but I did not expect her to make an impact like this as fast as she has.
Oh, I think everyone. I think that's just because you weren't aware of just how good she was.
I wasn't. You're right.
I don't think anybody's surprised by this. I mean, this is Paige Beckers. This is potentially Maya Moore. She could come out and have one of the great careers in UConn history. She's right. So
she has great genetic background too. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
Both her parents were phenomenal basketball players themselves in their own right.
Right.
So, well, I have a special guest for you if you can let him on.
Oh yeah, Chris Hill right here.
Yep. Yeah, that's him. There he is, Chris Hill. Joe, this is Chris Hill.
Hi, Chris.
Chris Hill was my college roommate, and he is the biggest UConn basketball fan ever. He says "we" when he talks about the UConn basketball team because he feels he's a part of it. So I wanted to give him the opportunity because he's such a fan of the show. He has 10 minutes, and he wanted to come on and say hello and offer his analysis because he lost just days and days of sleep after UConn, had those two performances in Maui. So, Christopher.
Well, since it hasn't been 24 hours, I'm not quite sure he's lost days and days of sleep.
Well, the first one, the Memphis game was first. It
was a day ago.
Oh, it was a day ago. Okay.
Steve's not a math guy, Joe.
Yeah, obviously, Chris. Obviously.
Thank you. Chris, what were your thoughts on the Memphis game?
I think there's immediate signs of, just how much we miss someone like a Tristan Newton. I don't think Mahaney really fits into the role of a true point guard. Really? I think he's more. I don't, and I think I'm hoping Hurley's still trying to figure that out a little bit and just messing around with lineups. I am wondering if someone like a Noel could be a better point guard even as a freshman, but I don't know. I think that presence was lacked. I think defensively, again, not to keep harping on the past, but we've been blessed by 3+ years of just an amazing defensive presence down low, and all around, but especially down low with Klingon and Sinogo. That I think that was really lost as well the last 2 games.
Wow.
Samson, Samson's just he's too foul prone.
He's not physical.
He's not physical. I like Terrace better, at least offensively speaking. I thought he was a beast against Memphis, but defensively, I think he lacks some of the skill that I'm reminded of someone like an Emeka, a Sonogo, a Klingon, a guy that can stay on their feet, and they time it well, right? I mean, Emeka, you never caught Emeka up in the air, right?
No.
Klingon and Sonogo, could use their body and their size and time it well. And Samson's, jumping up in the air left and right. Terrace kind of falls for it, and the guys are going up and under. So I think we're losing that as of right now, and I think that needs to be worked on. But then the point guard play as well. Maybe it's Ball that should be the point guard. I'm not really sure, but defensively, it's going to be really tough to win games at a college level when you give up 99 points. So,
no question.
Joe, what did you think about Mahaney? Because I thought that was his role was to come in and kind of take charge and be the point guard.
But I think Chris nailed it right on the head. He's not a point guard. He was a two guard at St. Mary's.
Right.
Okay.
They're trying to make I think they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And I'm not. Now look, it's only 6 games in. But I think the concerns are obvious. I totally agree that the point guard position, if you start Hassan Diarra, then you don't get that push off the bench that he gives them. But I also think if you start Diarra, he's more prone to getting in foul trouble the way he plays. I totally think we're going to see Ahmad Noel. For those people who are going to stay up till midnight to watch a game with Dayton, I think Noel's going to see pretty good playing time. I'm not sure Ball is the answer at the point, but I'm not sure it's Mahaney either. And as far as the middle, right on the head, Chris. Johnson's not a defensive center. Reed's not a defensive center. In this system, you need somebody who can be the rim protector, because the way they play on the perimeter, there's going to be times that guys get by him. It's not the game plan,
right?
But you need somebody to persuade the opposing players to not think that they have a free run to the hoop. And I think the other thing is, to be honest with you, and we touched on this a little bit in the pre-production meeting at 4:00 this morning. I think that look, we all love Hurley. We think he's done a great job. He's brought him 2 national championships after a point where there was people wondering if he could win a postseason game after the first 2 trips to the NCAA tournament. But there is a point where that behavior is going to hurt them in games, because officials talk and officials know what's going on. I think when they get to the Big East, his leash is going to be much shorter. You saw 2 times that Kamani Young, who's as good an assistant coach as are in the country, had to get in front of him and be the human shield. And I think, to be honest with you, it carries over the players. UConn has never been a team that's complained about every call.
No, even when Calhoun was there, no.
This team, if they did when Jim was there, Jim would have snapped their heads off.
Yeah.
Same with Kevin. James Doran is the most likable person on planet Earth. Okay? The fact that he could say something and get a technical foul is mind-boggling.
That's right. The trainer. The trainer got the tee. That's right.
And I'm sure James, and I'm sure James didn't do it in a fashion where it was not. And let me just add something on that. I don't think the coach had to throw him under the bus after the game.
Oh yeah, he was fairly quick to he was fairly quick on that one.
Who it was. So I think, and look, Danny's gotten savaged across the country for the
do you think it's pressure? Do you think he just feels more pressure this year? Obviously, because he's going for a third.
That's who he is.
That's
he's
just
always been like that.
Yeah.
Okay. His intensity is what makes him great.
Yeah.
His intensity is his biggest downfall.
Do you think feels he needs more of that this year initially because his
So many
team
new
needs to get
guys.
fired up because they're not where those other guys were early on? Do you think
He wasn't like this last year, Coach, and he had as many new guys coming in last year. He had 5 newcomers last year. He had Cam and the four freshmen.
So that's my point. Do you think that he thinks that maybe they're not as have shown to be as good, and they need maybe more of a spark, and that's his way to, look. You look at the the video from his first day of I think it was his first day of practice when he was, and I know he's always animated, but he was animated right away, almost like like that. Maybe he's concerned that even though there's new players again, that maybe these guys have a longer way to go than the other groups he's had.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Okay.
I don't know. But he had 5 new guys last year, and we didn't see this kind of. But
he had Tristan Newton.
He had Newton.
Newton. Newton was a difference maker. See, he was a guy. I thought, obviously he was a scorer and he would have phenomenal games. Every once in a while, he'd have an off game. But I thought overall, he was such a spark on that team. And then obviously the big man already had a ton of experience from the year before, right? So you had 2 people, even though they were newcomers, you had 2 people that he knew for sure were going to be locks on that team that could do the job. And not just do the job playing-wise, but leading-wise that other players will follow. It looks to me that this team is still searching for that.
Yeah. Well, no, I disagree. I think they have Caravan. They know Alex is the leader. And look, he's a decent shooter.
He's a swing man, though. He's a swing man. It was like when Calhoun thought that who was the guy who was he was a pro for a long time.
Ben Gordon.
No,
Rudy Gay.
Rudy Gay. That team, everybody thought that team was going to win the championship.
Oh,
Rudy Gay was a swing man. He was the 3, and even though I know he played the 2 at times and stuff like that, but he was a phenomenal player, and that team never got there. And I don't know. To me, your leaders are your guards and your center. And when your guards and your center are the guys that can lead, and they'll still develop. I think there's obviously it's early, right? So there's plenty of time to develop. But I think when that happens, your team has a chance. And last year's team had that in spades. You know what I mean? The transfer from Rutgers was a huge addition. He was already a star at Rutgers when he came to Uconn, right? So even though there were new players, I think I had a lot of that from the year before. So even though there's newcomers again this year, I think that they're still searching for that.
But the Mahaney kid was a star at St. Mary's. He wasn't just coming off the bench.
St. Mary's to Rutgers is not the same thing.
Well, it's Rutgers. Dave, Rutgers sucks.
St. Mary's is that's like saying FDU.
And I say this with all due respect to Steve Michael. Rutgers
I'm just busting your chops, Joe.
Rutgers never contends to the Big Ten. The worst move ever made by a college and by a league was the worst
Big
marriage
Ten.
ever since Sonny and Cher was the Big Ten and Rutgers.
Yep. I thought Sonny and Cher had
they squeezed us out.
Together.
Rutgers squeezed us out. There's no doubt.
I think BC squeezed us out.
BC squeezed us out too.
BC's do what Rutgers didn't because UConn didn't have some academic thing.
Yeah,
to qualify them for the Big Ten.
Really?
Well, Joe, isn't there more of a story behind Calhoun and BC and the bus trip that they didn't make because of the snowstorm?
Well,
right? Isn't there something more to that?
No, that was BU. That was
BU. Got it. Okay.
That was a long time before the BC to the. No, it was Gene DiFilippo, who the AD at BC.
Oh, right.
Who was the driving force behind UConn not getting in the ACC?
Chris, I know you got to get your hair cut. I just wanted to get one more thought from you. Liam McNeely, the freshman. What have you thought of his play so far?
Phenomenal. I mean, gosh, he did everything he could yesterday. Yeah, I mean, he's sad to say he's one and done. I mean, he's proving every ounce of his worth, no doubt, right out of the gate. I took it with a grain of salt to start, just because we're playing. I don't even know the teams that we played, but teams that have barely been in Division I basketball, right? So sure, he's beating up on these teams, no problem. Now we get some competition, and he's still doing it. So it'll be sad to see him go, as long as he just keeps doing what he's doing. But I think he's going to convert nicely to the NBA, which kind of is sad, but I love him. I think he's phenomenal.
Yeah, and everyone congratulate Chris. He just got engaged.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Yeah, I think he's walking into the Lions Den, but I don't approve of it, but I will say congratulations.
Thanks, Steve. And Coach, I will say, as much as I loved Rudy Gay as a player, but talking about that year is like talking about Fight Club, right? We don't talk about that.
Yeah, 2000 with losing the George Mason. Yeah, I know. I remember that one. We were stacked that year. We
don't talk about that.
Yeah,
so love him as a player. We don't talk about that year.
Why are you getting a haircut? Your hair looks fine.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank
you, Steve. It's just a little bushy, and just time for a little cleanup. It's all right. It's all right.
All right,
Steve. You worry about your own personal hygiene. I'll worry about mine.
Okay. Well, we can leave it at that. But I gave you your moment. You got to come on Husky Hoops, and Joe D agreed with you. He never agrees with me, so you did a great job.
Because Chris made sense, Cully.
Yeah,
That's why I agreed with Chris.
Chris is the super fan of the century. So
I don't paint my face blue like the other guy, but yeah,
you would. You would.
Bullet to my gun to my head, I would. Yes.
All right. Well, have a nice haircut, and I'll text you later.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving, Chris.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. You made it. You made his life, Joe, just so you know. Thank you.
I think he's got more going for him than that, but
no, I mean he was basically my roommate in college, and I lived with Mike Woodward, the walk-on.
Right.
So we would go to all the games together, and he loves Uconn basketball. He goes, he's had season tickets forever and knows the team inside and out, and he loves the show and loves you, and wanted to come on, even though he only had a few minutes. But thank you for entertaining him.
Oh, of course. Chris seems like a great guy.
Yeah.
And if we had kept him a little bit longer, we would have found out more of your dirty secrets.
Yes. He's got plenty of those. He's got plenty of those stories. But now I was looking at the Colorado game.
Yes.
What do you think just went wrong there? Was it the same thing, with Mahaney just not producing?
Well, Mahaney barely played. Mahaney only played 7 minutes.
Oh,
so
that's okay.
You can't stick that. No, you two big guys got in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Diarra got 2 early in the first half, 4 minutes in. Caravan got 2 and shot 1 for 8 from the floor.
Yeah.
Samson, you can't, if you're Samson Johnson, you can't play 13 minutes and have 1 rebound.
No,
right?
No, they need more production than that.
If you're Ross, maybe the better player.
You've said that all along about Ross.
Maybe, because I don't ever see Johnson, and I hope I'm wrong, but I don't ever see Johnson converting to be a good defensive player.
And it's because of, you would say, the physicality.
I just think he's not strong enough.
Yeah, more than anything.
Again, I could be totally wrong, and he doesn't seem to have the instincts.
Yeah.
Defensive end of the floor.
Right.
He's a leaper. Oh. He's a leaper. That's what he is. He can leap.
Right. He can jump through the roof. But that's not limited. That's not what makes a great defensive player.
But as far as the competition, like Memphis and Colorado, like I know things are still early, but Memphis, were they anyone to write home about? Colorado, anyone to write home about?
Well, I think Memphis was, and I think especially
I thought Memphis was, yeah.
When you compare it to the 4 games they played before that. I mean, UConn clearly, and I'm not saying this is the coach's fault but but UConn clearly was not ready for the physical style that Memphis played. Not even close.
Right.
They hit UConn in the mouth, and UConn didn't punch back till late.
Right.
They had a hard time with Memphis's guards.
Right.
Their guards were just defensively could not handle their guards.
Okay.
Memphis would guard every pass, would play tight man to man, would get the ball out on the run. UConn only had 5 fast break points yesterday against Memphis. They only had 7. So, if UConn can't get the ball out in transition, then it's now with McNeely, they've become a better perimeter shooting team. Ball can shoot from the perimeter. The other thing about Monday that surprised me, boys, was, and I've preached the gospel of Jalen Stewart since the beginning of the season. He played a great first half. He barely got any run in the second half.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. The coach said something about he looked a little skittish early in the second half.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Reed, Johnson and Reed both had 5 fouls. So they fouled out, like you said. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. And then you said Caravan had 2 early.
Yeah.
And then Stewart. Wow. They really were in a lot of foul trouble. But
their defense wasn't good. I mean, they scored 15 points in overtime. If you carry that over to increments over 40 minutes, that's 120 points. That should be enough to win the game, but it wasn't.
Absolutely. And especially for UConn. I mean, that you would never expect it to be like that with Memphis dropping 99. Wow. 17.
But Memphis is, that happened a couple of years ago. I forget which event it was in. But UConn played Auburn, a game that went a couple overtimes, and the final was like 119 to 117 or something like that. So UConn can always score. They couldn't score enough yesterday, and I didn't like the last play. I don't think a Diarra 25-footer when you're down 1 is what you're looking for.
Yeah. What do you think the answer is going to end up coming down to as far as the point guard position? I mean,
I think it's going to be, here's the thing. You're not going to give up on Mahaney yet.
No.
Because he didn't come here for free.
You can't, no.
Okay? You spent a little bit of money.
You spent a few bucks, yeah.
To bring him into your system. So and it's only 6 games in.
Yeah.
Overreaction Monday is every day on social media after UConn loses.
Very true.
I think they're going to try to work with him, but I think we're going to see more of Noel, and I think we'll probably see Diarra start again tonight or tomorrow morning, whenever it is.
Yeah. And
Diarra is a scorer. Diarra can score.
Yeah. And Diarra, I didn't know he was a transfer as well.
Oh yeah, this is his 5th year.
Texas A&M. Wow.
3 years at A&M, 3 years at 3 years in Stores.
Right. And then, Reed coming from Michigan, obviously, he's the guy that can also step up and make plays. And I just, with his size, being 260, 270, he will be a lot more physical inside and play better defense, right, than Sampson.
Well, he's going to be more physical, whether it's better defense or not.
Yeah,
depends on if he gets in foul trouble.
Right. That's the problem with Sampson.
Because he's shown a propensity, much like Sampson, to get in foul trouble.
Right. So that's, again, something they have to work on. Do you think, obviously they have Dayton. That's the end of the tournament. And then it's going to be rough afterwards. The out of conference schedule before they get into the big
league. And they got St. Mary's
too, but yeah.
No, St. Mary's. St. Mary's who?
Well, what was the other that other school? The University of Maryland. Sorry,
University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
Eastern
Not
Shore.
University of Maryland.
Right.
And they scheduled that for Thursday, which is kind of surprising. Short turnaround.
Very
I don't
short.
know if they're leaving Maui tonight after the game. They're probably flying home first thing in the morning. They chartered, so it makes it a little bit easier. But they play UMass, and then they get into the heat of the stateside non-conference schedule.
Yeah, I mean Baylor and Texas, obviously,
and Gonzaga.
Jeez, I mean that's you did not set yourself up for success. But weren't they saying this was the first time UConn lost 2 games in a row in a number of years?
3 years.
It was 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pending they take care of business tonight, which they should. And then
you also thought they were going to roll through Maui.
I did. I wholeheartedly did. I definitely did. I predicted they would dominate Memphis in Colorado. I think you mentioned North Carolina was there as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So I did predict that, and that's why I'm not a good predictor. Well, I also predicted UConn would beat Syracuse. So I'm over 4 right now.
You know what's great about you, Steve? UConn is undefeated.
In your mind.
In my mind, yes. In my own head.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm a legend in my own head.
Let me ask you a question for a minute.
Oh, boy.
What was it about UConn's performance against the Power 4 schools that led you to believe they could win a game on the road against the Power 4 school?
The quarterback. It was honestly the quarterback. I predicted that if Joe played, they would win 31-24, which they ended up losing by. I predicted if Evers played, we would lose 35-10. And had they not given up the first drive of the game, and let Syracuse score in 2 plays, that made the difference. And
they gave up 400 yards through the air.
Well, I expected that because we can't cover a cold.
And you know, one of the bowls that they're projected they could go to is in St. Petersburg against Florida.
Yes. So, yep.
How would that? I don't think that would end up well.
No. Well, see, the adjustment I would have made, we kept trying to blitz, and we weren't getting there. And when your blitz isn't getting there, you can't cover long enough. We're playing man coverage. I honestly would have rushed 3 and dropped 8, or would have disguised where a 4th rusher came from.
Okay,
that would have been my only thing, because we could not, like Arondé Gadsden. I don't think we had the best game plan for him, because he was getting a free release off the line every time. And when you got a guy as big, as strong, as physical, who's athletic and can run like him, he cannot get a free release. Syracuse did a great job moving him around, but I mean, I picked up on a couple tendencies they were doing. Anytime he was on the line, they ran away from him or they ran a pass route. They never ran to him. So I would have had someone on him, jamming him. When they ran their trip set, he was in the middle. He was off the ball. There was nobody near him. So he wasn't getting rerouted. He wasn't getting touched for 10 yards half the time.
Okay.
And I think that was the big problem. The other problem was running the ball. When the strength of our offense is our running backs. We have 3 great running backs. And we only had 17 carries. And when that happens, you're not going to win. When Joe Figiano has to throw 48 times, you're not going to win. He had 140 yards passing going into the 4th quarter. And it was only because of the last drive that he got his numbers up, and he ended up with 2 touchdowns. But no, I really did. I really believe they could win. I believed because Coach Brock has done an excellent job. I think I thought that he could have disguised the coverages and the pressures to rattle McCord, because McCord turns the ball over. He has 12 interceptions. He turns the ball over. I thought that we could have rattled him and gotten some turnovers. There were no turnovers on either side, but I was optimistic, and that was because Joe came in against UAB in a situation we were down 2 scores, and he brought us back.
Okay, let me repeat what you just said.
Joe came in off the bench where we were down by 14 against UAB.
Okay, no more
UAB.
questions. Your witness.
Yes. Yep. How are we going to beat a Power 4 school?
Well, you can't use.
I agree with you. You're right. You're right. What there's no evidence to show that we have the talent or ability to compete with a Power 4 school.
Well, no. I disagree with you there, Steve, because other than Maryland, they've competed, but they haven't gotten over the top.
No,
they can't win the close games
no.
against the Power 4 schools.
No.
Duke the quarterback play overall is average.
At best.
It's below average.
Best.
If you need, that's right, at best. If you're going to beat a Power 5 school, okay, with where our defensive backs are a little bit slower than their guys are, okay, even though I'm not talking about their technique, I'm not talking about their speed and athleticism, you're going to need great quarterback play to make up for that, because you're going to give up some points down the field. And I don't think we have good enough quarterback play to be able to make up for that. I mean, if you look at our history, like when you played, when Dan Orlovsky was on point, he was able to make, even though we actually had some really good players, but he was able to make up for some of that stuff because we had a good running game. We always had that, but he could also throw the ball down the field and make a huge impact. And when we've had a lot of success, no matter what style offense we were running, when we had great quarterback play, Uconn has had a chance to
Uconn said 3 quarterbacks who I would want, who are the only 3 guys who I would want to see put the ball up 40 times in a game.
Shane Stafford,
Matt DiGennaro, Shane Stafford, Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah, I know.
That's it.
I know.
That's it. Casey Cochran, before he got the concussions.
Zach Frazier was okay, but he was more of a game manager.
He was a very good game manager.
He was a game manager.
What's his name for 1 year after DiGennaro, before I got there, Cornelius Benton. He could throw it all over the yard too. He just only had 1 year, I think. I don't think his team was great, but he could throw it all over the yard. And a lot of yards.
But in reality, if we go 9-4, I mean, that's a tremendous accomplishment. Now, I know our schedule was softer than hot butter, but still 9-4, we were projected to win 2 to 3 games. So I think that combined with basketball getting its act together, which Coach Hurley will do one way or the other, the women will be fine. We have to get into a conference where we are going to be very, very deficient next year because of the television revenue coming into play. And that's what the Burtons were telling me, that, like even the ACC, Joe Burton told me they're not getting $20 million because the television contract doesn't cover that.
Right.
It's only really the Big Ten and the SEC that's going to get the $20 million to play with. So they have to raise more NIL money.
Does the Big 12 get that too?
No.
Not as much as those other 2.
No, their television contract won't give them that. I mean, they may get 10, but per school. But the the Big Ten has 18 schools, I think, and the
Yep.
SEC has 16. So that's the problem.
I also heard NIL, because of all this, is going to start to go to this.
The school's going to have more control,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I don't know exactly how it's going to operate or work.
Yeah.
But yeah, the collectives, because of the television revenue trumps the NIL money now for most schools. And that's going to make the difference. Like UConn, I don't know what their basketball contract is. I have no idea what they get paid for basketball because they're on SNY, which is very difficult. Like it was tough for me to find SNY to watch the girls. The guys are, we're on ESPN or CBS most of the time. But I
not
think
on CBS.
It's not CBS. Okay,
they're on ESPN. They're going to be on Fox. They're going to be on Peacock. A couple of games on NBC.
Jesus, this year
SNY is a New York station.
Yeah, they're losing SNY next year for good. Yeah,
right, because with the conference signed a deal with the conference rights have changed. It's Fox, but it's also NBC, and NBC is going to put a lot of games on Peacock.
Yes,
especially the women's games,
which is a pain.
No, but that's the way that. Yeah, it's a pain, but people have been spoiled.
You're right.
Connecticut have been spoiled by the fact that their women's program is the only program in the country who you could watch almost every game of, whether it's CPTV back in the day, and then when they flipped the contract to SNY. And here's the other thing, and I'll make this quick so we can get back to talking about the men. You're not going to get the same type of programming around the games on Peacock as you do on CPTV or SNY.
No, because they don't know.
There's no half an hour Uconn pregame show with Gary Apple and Carol Walters. There's no specials on Gino and CD on Peacock.
Correct.
People, that's going to be a rude awakening, and people are going to say, "Oh, why don't they do that?" Well, because you're doing it for 14 teams or 12 teams, whatever there is in the biggies, 11 teams.
I
thought that made the UConn women unique, that they had their own television stations covering them. It's a unique thing, and it's like what helped Notre Dame for so many years, having NBC, and it's a smaller scale, obviously, but it helped Notre Dame having they wouldn't have been able to be an independent if they weren't having their own station for all those years, right? It helps UConn women having their own station because you could, in recruiting, my goodness, you could show, we have our own pregame show, we have our own postgame show, on the network. There's no, it's not on the internet. It's actually on a network, So
I read an article on The Athletic about it, that fans are upset now with the NFL teams because they don't get local coverage. It's all national, and they don't know the teams inside and out.
Wait, what do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying.
Like if you played at Buffalo had commentators from Buffalo that covered the team regularly. It wasn't always NBA or
they
CBS.
Still do. They have the local anchors and sports reporters.
They do, but they're not. But going forward, that's what's going to be going away. It's going to go.
What do you mean it's going to be going away?
The article that I read said that you're not going to get the local television.
Steve, it's apples and oranges.
Right.
In Buffalo, you've still got the 4 network affiliates who cover that team morning, news, noon, and night. People in Kansas City don't give a rat's ass about what Buffalo gets in Buffalo. They only care about what Kansas City gets in Kansas City. That's never going away.
Oh, because I must have misread it. The way I read it was that Buffalo games, if you live in Buffalo, will not be covered by any local affiliates commentators to commentate the games.
Well, but that they're not now. It's all national.
Right. It's
You're
national,
talking,
but
well, I mean, like in the 90s and in the early 2000s, there were local New York guys that did all the games. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, I must have read it
that
wrong.
has been gone for actually a while now, for the most part, because now it's rotating national and regional, meaning not regional like only
the
New York,
teams.
but like Northeast a team of guys that cover the Northeast games.
Joe, does UConn, do we send like a radio team on the road with them?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so they do still travel and cover for the radio. Okay.
Yeah.
But the television is whoever's covering them, whoever our TV deals with.
Well, the television never traveled until the NCAA's, the local Channel 3 and Channel 30,
Really?
Fox 61, Channel 8. Yeah, they unless it was maybe a game at Syracuse that they could drive to, or Providence or New York. They wouldn't go to DC. They wouldn't go to Maui.
Oh, okay. So they would pick up the feed.
You know what I think you're going to see more of, which already the SEC and Big Ten have with their schools, is things just like this. Because those schools like LSU and Alabama, I mean, they have 10 guys doing different shows like what we're doing. Like,
but UConn has none.
And it's covering. Well, but you will. So hopefully we captivate the market before that happens. But
no, I agree.
But they do because there's a just because I know from running showcases and camps around the country, they all have their own sports. Bobby Hebert used to it probably still does a show for LSU for football, and he was like one of the like 5 or 6 guys that were doing things. But there was like 25 of them. He was just one of the 5 or 6 bigger guys that were doing it. There were like 25 of those guys.
Exactly.
Cover. I mean, they weren't just working for 24/7 Sports and all. I mean, they were like their own entities, and that were like operating some tiny, either side business or regular business on it. And it was incredible when you would go to those. Those things have been in place in a lot of those places for the last 10 years.
Yeah, and they're going away, and that's what's been disappointing about.
I don't think it's going to go away. The internet's not going to go away. It's not going. It's going to expand.
For UConn, I'm saying we get very little coverage.
Don't you think that will expand?
It hasn't. I can't find any information on UConn. You got to pay to get the Hartford Courant.
Well, the papers have gone away. No, that's different. The news, they still cover but the newspaper everyday coverage that's gone away everywhere.
Well, there's 2 papers that have writers in Hawaii, so you can't say they've gone away. There's 2 papers that have writers in the Bahamas.
Right.
The bigger paper, the Courant and Hearst, Connecticut Media, which is the Register and the Connecticut Post.
Right.
Several of those stations. The difference is some of the smaller papers don't travel as much. But nobody's lacking for UConn information. That's a bunch of crap.
Well, like I couldn't find about Nick Evers, his injury, if he was playing this week. Like I couldn't find any information.
Well, here's one reason why, is because the team doesn't put it out.
That's true.
If the coach says it'll be a game time decision, it's not like the writer's going to be able to go behind the coach's back and find out.
Correct.
They're doing that so they don't tip off who to prepare for.
But I also think content is lacking.
Content is lacking at UConn football-wise. I'm not 100% certain on basketball. I would think it isn't. So when I go on
I mean, the only one we went.
When I go on the UConn, like I see a whole series on the UConn. You know what? I think,
but nobody watches it on the website. They put it on the website.
I don't have it. The distribution is what you're talking about.
Yes, it should be on the website.
Is different than I think content's being produced. I think how
they
it's
do
distributing and reaching the people may be different. UConn is used to, at least on the women's side. Men is different. But I had a conversation with Maria Conlon about this. UConn and Gino was the one who really changed it at UConn with UConn women. How originally we used to say it was like a wine and tea crowd, right? UConn women's games was a family game, a wine and tea crowd, like a relaxed environment. Gino really brought that fan base where the students were coming to. It created a huge student section. First it was like a lottery, then now they expanded it tremendously, so it's a much bigger section. So the demand for UConn, other than locally within stores, which would be students, the demand for that content was still traditional media, I think, for the most part, for a long time, because what consumes it in the state of Connecticut more is maybe an older crowd, right?
Right.
But
right.
that is going to evolve, and it's the distribution of that kind. So the demand for the distribution in the younger crowd, meaning your age and younger, meaning like 40, early 40s and under, that's where I think you might be right. And that may be across all sports in general, because that's why people are consuming the internet much more than ever, right? YouTube, well, that may be they are demanding, your age and below are demanding continuous 24/7 content of that.
Yes.
And I think maybe, I mean, LSU, which would be, or Bama, which would be probably the people who are ahead of it more, probably Ohio State. Even there, those people are complaining about a lack. Like Ryan Day has to do like 5 different of these local shows if you look on the internet and spout off, and all of a sudden he's spouting off things they probably wouldn't even spout off on because he's doing so many of these damn shows to keep the demand that the younger people want content-wise. You know, where, I mean, he made a funny comment the other day or yesterday about the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, basically saying other than his father dying, losing to Michigan is basically equal. Like it's almost craziness to say those kind of things. But when you're doing like 90 different shows all the time, because
you lose your train of thought.
Demand for content all the time, because people in 40 and under want content on their team all the time now. That's the bottom line. Like, and UConn will catch up to it eventually, but that is the truth. Like,
it is. No,
that's
it
what
is.
makes this show so popular. That's why 200 people are watching it continuously right now, every single time we're on.
We get a ton of views.
It's been 1,000 when
thousands.
But that's because people. It depends on the time of day. You know, when we do
every time
at 8 o'clock, more people watch it, right? In the primetime hours, but that's what it really is. It's the distribution of content that people crave.
I agree. Joe, I know you got to go. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
We wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
And to you boys and all our viewers. And, hopefully the Huskies get a win tonight against Dayton and then come home and beat UMass, and then we'll see what happens when we talk next.
And then hopefully I move up, to the top 10. I moved up to the top.
Wow.
I wouldn't push it.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you. You're my favorite.
Are you going to do our lemons talk or what, Steve?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, this has been Husky Huddle and the
Husky Hoops. Husky Hoops.
God, I'm losing it. Husky Hoops with the man himself, the best of the best, the voice of the Huskies, the icon, Joe D'Ambrosio, and the coach, David Schuman, who was just honored in the Palisades Hall of Fame. Very excited, Coach Schuman. And I am the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life.